We're going to call the meeting to order at 4:09 this afternoon, Thursday, September the 14th. Miriam, do you want to do the roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Calling roll call for the reinvestment zone number 2 for the Coves. Jose Zuniga,
Present.
Olivia Varela, Edward Ochoa,
Present.
Lalo Uribe,
Present.
Mercurio Martinez. We have quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Miriam. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody can please face the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Citizen comments, we'll keep the citizen comments open until the end of the meeting. Is there any comments at this time?
Mr. Chairman, Arnold Lozano for the Record Economic Development. Has been no written comments submitted. I don't believe that there's anybody present to submit citizen comments either. I just want to make the board aware that we do plan to put an option on the agenda for a public access for people to submit comments online.
Okay,
Excuse me.
thank you. Presentation items, tier number 2, board roles and responsibilities. Miriam?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as we pull out the presentation, we wanted to give a very brief overview to the board on the roles and responsibilities and powers and duties as adopted on the last ordinance when the board was appointed. The board, just a recap, the board consists of 5 members, directors, who shall serve a term of 2 years. Vacancies shall be filled for the remainder of the unexpired term by appointment made by the governing body. As you know, 3 of the appointments came from the city, and there's 1 appointment by the college and the county, which are the entities that are participating in this TERS. The city council shall annually appoint a member of the board to serve as chairman of the board for a 1-year term beginning January 1st and ending in December 31st. The board may elect a vice chairman to serve in the absence of the chairman. And just real quick on this particular item, there will be 3 seats that are gonna be up for reappointment or for appointment by the city, and the city staff will be working on that with city management.
Thank you, Miriam.
The board may hold its meetings at any place within the city accessible to the public. The board shall conduct its meetings in accordance with the requirements of the Act and the Texas Open Meeting Act. Regular meetings of the board shall be held at such times and places as shall be designated by the board. Public notice of each meeting shall be given in the manner prescribed by law. Special meetings of the board shall be held whenever called by the chairman, the vice chairman, in the absence of the chairman, or upon advice of or request by the mayor. Now, moving on to the powers and duties of the board, we wanted to give the board a brief recap as well on the powers and duties that you all hold when you were appointed to this board. The board makes recommendations to the city council concerning administration of the zone. The board may enter into agreements considered necessary and convenient to implement the project and financing plan for the zone, such as impose land use regulations and restrictions through conditions, restrictions, or covenants, dedicate, pledge, or otherwise provide for use of funds to pay for project costs, or dedicate funds to pay for costs of affordable housing or areas of public assembly. The board may also exercise any power granted to the governing body of the city under Section 311.008 of the Texas Tax Code, prepare, approve, and implement project plans or achieve purposes of plan, consistent with the project plan for the zone, acquire blighted, deteriorated, and undeveloped or inappropriately developed real property for preservation or restoration of historic sites, beautification or conservation, or public purposes. Acquire, construct, or install public works and improvements, including utilities, streets, streetlights, water and sewer, pedestrian malls and walkways, parks, flood and drainage facilities, or parking. The governing body by ordinance, resolution, or order may restrict these powers. All powers necessary monitor project and financing plan, including power to submit annual report on zone in place of the developer. Specifically, delegated all powers of the city under Chapter 211 of the Local Government Code, regulation of land use, structures, businesses, and related activities. The board shall have all powers the city is entitled to delegate under Section 311 of the Tax Code, Tax Increment Financing Act. The board may adopt an amendment to the project plan upon approval via ordinance by the governing body of the municipality. An amendment must be approved via ordinance after a public hearing when it reduces or increases the geographic area of the zone, and this is the zone that was previously adopted by the governing body, increases the amount of bonded indebtedness to be incurred, increases or decreases the percentage of a tax increment to be contributed by a taxing unit, increases the total estimated project costs, or designates additional property in the zone to be acquired by the municipality. With approval of the governing body, the board may also establish and provide for programs necessary to implement the project plan, including developing or diversifying economy, eliminating unemployment or unemployment, and expanding transportation, business, or commercial activity, including through grants or loans. All the powers granted a municipality under Chapter 380 of the Local Government Code. The board may also contract with the city to allocate funds to pay for incremental costs for municipal services due to development or redevelopment of land in the zone. The board and governing body may enter into agreement with local government, corporation, or political subdivision to manage the zone or implement project and finance plan. Now, Section 311.010A of the tax code precludes the governing body from authorizing the board to take any of the following actions: issuing bonds, imposing taxes or fees, exercising the power of eminent domain exception under Section 311.010D2, allows acquisition of real property by condemnation with consent of the governing body, or giving final approval to the project plan. So this was, Mr. Chairman, this was a request that was made at our last meeting that we would come before the board to give you a rundown of the powers and duties and the roles and responsibilities. If there's any questions regarding any of the sections that were just presented, please let us know. We do have our legal department here with us to address any particular questions you may have.
Any questions at this time from the board? Any questions on the public side? No? Thank you. We'll carry on. Presentation by Planning and Zoning Department. And plat sub.
This one? Actually, no, that's all over here. Okay, you got it.
Great, it's just a one pager. Good afternoon, everyone. For the record, Rafael Vidal.
Oh, sorry, just gonna go full view for the,
Oh, okay.
I learned that today, no?
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Good afternoon, Honorable Chair, honorable members of the board. For the record, Rafael Vidal with the Planning Department. And just wanted to give just a very quick update of some of the show for the record for everyone, the master plan and some of the phases that have come in. And actually, we'll have these exhibits, we'll hand them out. And we also got a little bit of a timeline, but we do want to show that the Coves project is definitely moving along and moving forward. What we've identified is the areas that are already platted in green, the areas that have already received a final plat approval are in yellow, and the ones that have received preliminary plat approval in red. So these are definitely moving on. You can see the residential there, and you've got some of the commercial in the areas along the highway. But the project is definitely moving forward, and I know the rest of the Killen Group will provide more details on this, but definitely moving forward. And again, we'll provide copies of this exhibit to everybody, as well as the timeline. Oh, he's got the timeline there.
So just for the record, we do want to share that with the board, and if there's any questions on the planning side, we'd be more than happy to answer them. Oh, absolutely, yes. And there, the second exhibit is the timeline as it's been moving forward.
Thank you, sir. For the item dated 4/6/2023, is that what's going to be discussed?
No, there's no items for this. This is just informative, we're just passing out a timeline for your records. Really isn't too much discussion unless there's a particular question that can be directed to me or to Laura. And we do want to share just where they are as of today. So they have definitely been moving along.
But if there's a particular item that they want to bring forward for questions or
I mean,
discussion,
yeah,
the board may.
on the planning side, we're more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
On that item that I mentioned, it says receive preliminary reconsideration. What was reconsidered on that item? Do you know?
On that one, if I'm not mistaken, it was just a slight adjustment, I believe, on the acreage, that's all. Just a minor item.
Any questions by any members of the board? No? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, presentation and semi-annual project status for Coast of Winfield Development Project by Sharko and Killam. Ms. Ortiz, Mr. Ortiz.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, Dr. Rolando Ortiz for the record. I have a couple of colleagues with me today, Justin Heather, who's our in-house counsel. He's also helping us with the tours. We have Jacob Puig, he's with Clear Choice Hospital, and Cesar Vela is the Vice President of Finance for Laredo College. They have an item that will be coming up at right after our presentation. Miriam, Amber, Arnold, good to see you all. Thank you all for your presentation. So, how do we do this? Let's see. So, we've been working on this code for a very, very long time. I think you all are very much aware of how we've gotten to this point. We started submitting plat approvals probably back in March of 2022, and now those are coming to fruition. We're doing some improvements out there, and I'll kind of walk you through that with this presentation. So this is our approved master plan. And it also has, let me see, get back up here. There it is. This is our approved master plan. It's been approved twice before. This is the third time it's been approved, and there's litany of reasons why it expired and then came back. The framework of this master plan is the same. It's been the same ever since 2007 when UISD went out for that first bond election. So we have added an area we're annexing, which is contemplated in the finance and development plan of the TERS. This plan was approved a few months back, and this is the plan we're working off of right now. Everything's really been basically the same. The city of Laredo is asking us now to show all the lots within the different pods. I wish I could tell you those are exactly the way they're gonna look in the future, but they will probably change as we get to those areas. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. So the first two phases were the 9th grade campus for UISD. The second phase was Robert Santos Elementary. And you can see where they are in location to our master plan. The first residential phase, as Mr. Vidauri was explaining, are these first 50 lots. We have 4 lots currently approved with final plat approval. We're actually starting to build homes there. And the balance of those 50 acres should be recorded probably within the next 45 days. We're waiting for the final approvals from the City of Laredo's engineering department, the traffic and environmental. So we hope to have those, and we'll be ready to go. We've got some pent-up demand, so you'll see homes going vertical. You'll see homes going vertical probably in the next 2 weeks. So this is one of the items that Mr. Vela and Mr. Puig are here about. This area in green shows where Laredo College was going to go, which is also contemplated in the development and finance plan. It was in what we call the town center of the subdivision, where we're going to be doing some commercial mixed-use development. And so this is where they were going to go. We've actually called this Phase 3, and all that improvement work started until and we're finishing it. So we're running a water line, we've extended a little road, so they'll have water sewer to these 2 platted lots. The college is moving to another location, which I'll show you in a minute, but this is going to be our first package that we put in for, that will eventually get reimbursed, not today, but eventually. And we're going to talk a little bit about how that's going to transpire as well. What Mr. Vidauri didn't have was Phase 4. I think we have final plat approval on Phase 4. There's about 97 lots. We're close to final plat approval. We're waiting for the one-stop shop approval. That has preliminary plat approval. We're in the one-stop shop. I believe we've submitted comments, so in 2 weeks we'll have those back. And that's another phase. It's 97 lots. We're going to be building the infrastructure and moving forward. Phase 7, they did have this one on there. That is the same way. We will be submitting to the one-stop shop at the end of September. That typically takes 30 to 45, maybe 60 days to get through that system. And once that's done, we'll put that out to bid and start the underground infrastructure, so we can start selling some lots and some other home sites. So this is the hospital and apartments. These are our commercial units. The hospital does have final plat approval, and the apartments, I think, has final plat approval. Both of these projects are going out to bid, and so we will be extending Shiloh to the most east part of the hospital site, and we're going to be extending Clear Choice Road all the way to where the apartments are. Those projects, we want them to be under construction in the next 45 to 60 days. Those bids are going out as we speak. So the little green dot is where or the green box is where the college is moving to. So one of the things that this tool has already given birth to is the collaboration between Laredo College and Clear Choice Hospital. When Clear Choice did the deal with us to purchase this property and build their hospital, which by the way is going to be 120,000 square feet of hospital and about 70,000 square foot of medical office building. Their CEO went and talked to Dr. Ramirez and said, hey, is there a way we can collaborate and see if we can help with you with your practicums? Maybe there's a way we can help fund some of your professors, those types of things. So Dr. Ramirez was excited. She took it to the board. The board said yes. They came to Cliff, Mr. Killam, and he was asked, do you mind if they move from Inspiration to Shiloh? And he said, that's what this tool's for. Let's make it happen. And so this will be before you in a while, is really just the move from where they were previously to where they're going to be now. And we've submitted the preliminary plat process already on that. After we get phase 4 and phase 7 up and running and get final plat approval, we're moving to phase 6. We're moving to phase 8. We're moving to phase 11. And we're moving to phase 12. My goal was to try and have all this under final plat approval by the end of this year, and I'm not going to be able to do it. It's a very cumbersome process to get from preliminary plat to final plat. So we're focused hard on getting these 2 phases in, and then we're just going to tackle the phases as we go. That's my little presentation. Arnold, how do I get out of here so I can get to the other slides? Escape?
And then minimize here.
Minimize or go?
Yeah, you can exit if you're done with both of them. And then in here, you'll go back to,
Yeah, right here.
okay.
I think this works. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Let's see here. How come I can't put the, let's see here. I apologize, I'm fumbling here. Can you see that? I was trying to get the little thing on the left out. So I spoke a little bit about how we want to prepare these reimbursement packages, right? Because our development plan with the City of Laredo and in the TERS document calls out for several things that need to happen, right? The city has to approve the projects. So that's our preliminary platting process. It goes into the preliminary plat. Then we go to the one-stop shop, so all the improvements in the water, the sewer, the streets, all those designs are approved. Goes back to final plat approval. We put the project out to bid, which is a requirement of the TERS. We select a qualified bidder. We go do the improvements. We continue to make the payments to the contractor as the project progresses. And we get lien releases, unconditional conditional lien releases as we go through the process. And then at the end of the day, we get the unconditional release, right? So we know the project's been paid for. There is a certificate of completion that's done by our engineer. Then the city also goes out there and gives final approvals. You get all the letters from the city engineer signs off on it. The plat gets recorded, and what we want to do is we want to be able to bundle that in one nice little package, right? So starting from the preliminary plat stage, our submittal process, the minutes where it got approved. So at any given time, you can go back and look at that book that will be held by the Economic Development Department so that when the time comes and there's enough funds in the actual account, that you'll be able to then make the recommendation for the reimbursement, okay? And so this is just really kind of a draft table of contents that'll be up there. Project phase plat, the preliminary plat approval, and I kind of just went through all these things, right? And at the end of the day, we hope to have a book similar to this. It'll probably be a 3-ring binder. It probably won't be much thicker than this, but it'll have all those documents in there with all the approvals and everything kind of stacked in a nice, little neat package. The key here is the final city approval, right? That everything was done per the city codes, per the ordinances, and the 9 yards, which is obviously what we're doing. So that's, if you had any questions on, well, when are they gonna get reimbursed? We know it's gonna take a while for that balance to generate, right? We don't wanna wait, do one phase, and then wait until something happens. We're gonna blow and go, right? Because obviously time is a deal killer. We only have 30 years, seems like a lot, it's not. I'll give you an example. The City of Mission has a TERS that they started in 2021. They have 7 more years left, right? And so they're scrambling to see what else they can do with that project. So I don't think I'll be here. If I am, I'll probably be like in ashes. But anyway, so we want to make it as easy as possible for you all, for the city staff as well, just so that we'll be in charge of making sure everything's in place.
There's no waiting period after the conditional and unconditional waivers are submitted. There's no like 90-day waiting period for any mechanical liens or anything like that, correct?
So, a brief explanation that I use is when your project starts, the contractor gets out there, he does typically 30, 45, 60 days of work. He'll submit his first draw, and in that he'll send a conditional lien waiver. And that conditional lien waiver says, my total contract is $1,000. I'm asking for $200. There'll be $800 left at the end of this draw request. And oh, by the way, the lien release is only good until that check clears my bank, right? But for us, what it does, it ensures, because in there it also says I've paid all my vendors, I've paid all my contractors, and everything's been paid. And then obviously the final one, and so then you hold 10%, right?
Right.
So you hold 10% till the end of the project. Once the project is complete, 30 days after that completion, you submit that final 10% to the contractor, and they sign the unconditional one, right? And of course, it says until that check clears, but after this, we're done. I can't come back and file a lien, right? We do that practice anyway at Killam, so it's not out of the ordinary for us to do it here. So, it's just good construction practice, and we've been doing it since I've been with the Killams and in my prior lives with different commercial companies that I worked with in Houston. So, but to your point, that's how we protect ourselves, and we're protecting the city money on this as well. And all those will be in there. So my team is pretty well versed that if we don't get a conditional lien waiver for a draw, they're not getting paid, right? So that's, we're trying to make sure, we're typically pretty good. I've been doing this for 35 years, and I've been on the bad side of this deal twice, right? And both times we came out okay because I had those conditional waivers, or I had enough retainage to finish the job. So it is a good practice. And it's a great question. So now you're probably wondering, so how do we know? The TERS has a total amount of reimbursement. That reimbursement will never go over this unless this board and all the different partners agree that that increase can, or that reimbursement can increase. But right now, it's plus or minus $77 million, okay? And so for us, we'd like to keep it as simple as possible. In our sources and uses, which is part of the, oh, no. I apologize. Let me try again. Which is part of the development plan and the finance plan. This is embedded into the actual agreement. It's the City of Laredo's 40% contribution, Webb County's, and the colleges. So in the white boxes, it'll tell you the major road costs, and it will also give you the project costs for the individual pods that are happening within the subdivision. And then there's a balance towards the column that's under F. What we'd like to do, and we hope it's okay with you, because to me it's the easiest thing for us to keep track of this, is as we bid these projects out, and like phase 3 was a Laredo College, and it's in gold, we have the balance of street pavement. Well, that part of the development's costing us $222,000. We're gonna have kind of like a running balance, and then we subtract it from there. It goes into the balance section, and then there's another phase, right? And you can see, we already started populating this. This is not completely finished, but this gives you an idea of what those improvements are and what line account they're coming out of. And, you know, if you would like to look at this a little differently, just let us know. But for me, it just, you know, I can't recreate an account, you know, out of the blue unless I get your approval. These are the accounts that we're gonna be coming out of. Our schedule of values basically come back from the bids with street improvements, water line, sewer line, those types of line items in the account. And for us, it's an easy way to track this. And then, you know, there'll be a total balance at the end of the day, right? That 77 million will then decrease to, you know, 76 million, and then so on and so on and so on. And if you look, then I put the 50 lots on there, and we started populating that as well. But this is just kind of like a tool. When we submit this for phase 3, it will have this tab in there as well. And we're also going to do a pen drive so we can keep it on electronically, right? So it'll also have it'll have this on there, so everybody will know what phase 3 cost, where that chart of account was being hit, and what the balance is for the next phase, okay? And really, I mean, unless you all think there might be a better way to do this, I just think it's pretty simple, and it's accounting that we can keep, they can check. We'll have, you know, the construction contracts, it'll all be very transparent.
Very clear. Just as a comment, and it's just something very simple, but the formula on G41, 42 is incorrect.
Formula where?
On G42.
G, A, B, C, D, G,
Not a running total.
32.
The subtotal, it should be adding all the other.
Mande?
Yeah, that's incorrect.
The sum of G32 and
If you click on
G41?
G42, click on,
Yeah, right there.
oh, they're dividing.
Oh, yes, you're right. Apologize. That's why they don't let me do this. Huh. Well, we'll make sure that's cleaned up. I apologize. It's definitely more than that. And I don't know why I didn't sum it up properly. This came from our financial analyst, who probably has 1 million cells in here that And I asked him, I said, just redo it on a simple spreadsheet for Rowley, please. So, okay. But yes, thank you. And we're not ready to submit anything, so, I mean, we're not, but we'll make sure that that is correct. Thank you for that.
What did you anticipate was your first project to submit? I guess which one of these phases?
So we started with Laredo College because we had a timeline, right? And they wanted to have the donation provided to them by, I want to say, the first quarter of 2023. So we submitted that plat kind of immediately. Then, of course, the movement of it kind of changed that timeline as well. So, but that was the reason we did that one first.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Action items, discussion with possible action regarding relocation of Laredo College land donation and amendment to associated real property donation agreements.
If you mind, I'll go ahead and speak on behalf of this item, and I've kind of touched on it a little bit. This collaboration started with our working with Clear Choice Hospital. They saw the advantage of working with Laredo College, who has a fantastic nursing program and medical assistance program. And and for us, I mean, you know, we kind of picked the town center just because at the time it was where there'll be some activity and we can build off of it. But with a hospital coming in, which we had no idea they wanted to come to this area, and again, something I attest to this type of tool. If it wasn't for this tool, this wouldn't be happening. They reached out to the college, and they were in agreement. And for, like I said, for Cliff, he was gung ho, and he wants the best for the project and wants the best for at the end of the day the college, the county, the city, and of course Clear Choice as well. So it is a good program that they'll be working together. I don't know if they'd like to say anything.
Doc?
Rolly, if you, I don't know if you can pull this up, but if you can just,
Yes.
on my sheet here, there's a yellow rectangular, and then there's one that's red.
That's the college. The
That's
red
the-
is the college.
The red is a college, okay.
Yes.
I minimized it.
And then this here is the
Or did I?
hospital. I got you. Okay, got you. Perfect.
We can bring it up here, I think. Yeah, right here. There we go. Is this thing touchscreen?
Control L.
Control L. All right, there we go. There we go. Okay.
So this is the site they're going to now. They were over here.
Okay.
It's the same acreage, it's the same deal, it's just they're moving from point A to point B. And since they were part of the TERS, and it's in all the documents, is the reason they were coming to make sure the TERS board approves this. If this was a shopping center that anybody would be building and they wanted to move, that really wouldn't need your all's approval. But this is kind of an integral part of the TERS program and the TERS documents. So as long as we're continuing to use and it really build these things in these commercial areas, right, that we have them platted at, so.
It makes sense for them to be
Right aside.
together, join.
It really does, and I know the college is excited about it, and I know Clear Choice is thrilled because, as you all well know, one of the big issues we have as a community here is healthcare, and trying to educate nurses, nurse practitioners, medical assistants is paramount. I understand the college just increased their enrollment to have another 40 or 50 students a year come in, which is huge. And because there's only so much limit, right? And you only have so much education. And you know, what I really like to hear is when Clear Choice is saying we can help you with professorships, or our doctors can help teach classes. And so they're going to build a fantastic hospital, and that collaboration is going to be great.
Mayor,
So-
for the approval process, do we
This
vote
per-
for a recommendation? Do we, for the government entity, or do we have the power to approve?
Mr. Chairman, this particular item does require approval via motion, and it is my understanding that it doesn't need to be taken to the governing body.
It does or does not?
Since
does
you're,
not?
yeah, since you're just moving, from one location to another, it doesn't seem to fall under any of the circumstances that would require council approval. So somebody from the board would need to make a motion, a second, and then a full vote, and that should be sufficient to move the location, since you're not changing really anything other than just the
Other than
location of the project.
The physical. And, if that is the case, I will make a motion to accept moving the Laredo College area as presented on the plat, being shown in red on the plat that we were given. So that is my motion. If we can have a second.
I'll second
Second by Mr. Uribe. Everybody in favor say aye.
that.
Aye. Everybody against? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it.
No citizen comments. We're gonna close citizen comments at this time. Any other items by the board? Any other items by the city,
No, Mr. Chairman.
the public? None? If not, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.